Unless you've been living under a rock for the past 48 hours, you've probably come across the baby mama drama between conservative influencer Ashley St. Clair and the world's richest man Elon Musk. So first I'm going to go over the drama before addressing the deeper underlying issue of internet e-girls. That way you get to enjoy a good natter and also get to feel a bit intellectual at the same time. So to summarise, on the 14th of February, conservative trad girl influencer Ashley St. Clair announced that she had a baby with Elon Musk. This was supposedly because the media were going to dox her baby, and what better way to stop them than to beat them to the punch? The fact that it was Valentine's Day and that Musk is a noted womaniser had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. Nada. Anyway, since coming out with the announcement, internet sleuths have unearthed a ton of old tweets by St. Clair that cast doubt on her trad e-girl credentials and which make it look like she was always out to get pregnant by Musk and score herself some of that sweet, sweet Tesla money. In 2020, 4 years before eventually getting knocked up by the man, she wrote, "I need it to get Elon Musk's attention for a marriage proposal, please, Greg." While she didn't get the marriage proposal, she got one better by getting impregnated by the South African billionaire and securing the proverbial bag for life. By getting pregnant by the richest man alive, Ashley became an all-time baby mama Hall of Famer overnight. For those unfamiliar, a baby mama, according to dictionary.com, is the mother of one or more of a man's children, especially one who is not his wife or current partner. The phenomenon is particularly associated with professional sports stars like basketballers who get involved in brief relationships with women who deliberately get pregnant by the men to secure child support payments from them. That's all well and good, and a mating strategy as old as time, to be honest with you. But what makes the Ashley St. Clair drama notable is that for the longest time, she posed as a trad e-girl. Being a conservative, Ashley was supposed to uphold old-fashioned values like raising children in traditional nuclear families. Being a single mum goes against that mindset, but people of both genders pretend to be something they're not to increase their appeal to the other, so no big deal there either. I think what's important to note is how trad e-girls became so popular in the first place. Now, it's quite likely that Musk was deliberately amplifying St. Clair onto our timelines, given his reputation for promoting those he likes and limiting exposure to those he doesn't, given his control of the X algorithms. But e-girls of all shades are popular regardless, whether they're conservatives, gamers, religious ones and so on. Their popularity is little to do with who they are, but instead to do with the idealisation that goes on in the minds of men. To understand this, we need to look at the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung and his idea of archetypes. Archetypes are underlying patterns of behaviour that are innate in human beings that can amount to specific characters. So we're all familiar with ideas like the wise man, the hero, the damsel, the mother, the father, the trickster, and so on. What Jung argued was that those are not personalities we learn by encountering them in the world, but are instead inbuilt behaviour patterns that exist in our consciousness. They exist within us all the time, regardless of whether we are male or female, but their expression depends on our individual upbringing, societal influences and context. So, for example, each of us is capable of drawing on the wise man archetype, which includes traits like stoicism, wisdom, patience, good judgment, and so on. But if we're raised to be impulsive and impatient, that archetype will not be expressed in our personality. Now you're thinking, but Professor Renard, what does Jung have to do with e-girls? Put simply, our fascination with e-girls comes down to our idealisation of women, which in itself comes down to how well we've integrated feminine archetypes. In Jungian psychology, men have a feminine aspect and women have a masculine one. The feminine archetype of men is known as the anima, and an anima that is not well integrated can lead to the idealisation or vilification of women. In internet terminology, that means you either become a simp or incel. Each e-girl represents an ideal in the mind of a man who has taken an interest in her, either as an object of fascination or hatred. So let's stick with the example of trad e-girls who represent conservative values. They at least present themselves as being archetypal mothers, who have the qualities of being chaste, pure, nurturing, and family-oriented. All women and men are capable of having those qualities, but when the feminine archetypes are not well integrated in the mind of a man, he can only recognise them in the form of extreme caricatures that the e-girl represents. He will dismiss the masses of women who don't outwardly advertise their caring, chaste, nurturing aspects and notice only those who make a show of it. Now, you may ask why that is the case. The issue often comes down to the way they have interacted with their female authority figures growing up. An overbearing or cruel mother can disrupt a young man's ability to form healthy female archetypal models as an adult, which means they will often struggle to form relationships with members of the opposite sex. That inability to deal with the opposite sex makes caricatures or fantasy depictions of women all the more appealing. In reality, you're less likely to come across those types of caricatures than you are on the internet, where influencers can curate their personalities to make themselves most appealing to their male followers. This idealised image is both a source of fascination and fear for the man with an unintegrated anima archetype. Jung writes, the mother archetype can take on a negative form, appearing as the devouring mother, the witch, or the dragon. This aspect symbolises the dangers of being swallowed by the unconscious, of losing one's individuality, and of being consumed by dependency or regressive tendencies. It is the dark side of the nurturing mother, representing not life and growth, but stagnation and death. That quote right there can explain some of the anger directed at Saint Clair after the revelations about her baby with Musk. So that explains the fear and hatred aspect. So what is it about the archetype that's so alluring? The feminine aspect of man is also where his potential for positive transformation lies. As men, we see in women a symbol of life-creating qualities like the ones we mentioned earlier, especially the ability to create and nurture life. Jung also wrote, the mother archetype is symbolised by the primordial mother or earth mother of mythology, by goddesses of fertility and of the harvest, and by the maternal attributes of trees, the sea and the moon. It is associated with the nurturing, protective and transformative aspects of the feminine principle. Wherever we encounter this archetype, it is imbued with a sense of sacredness and numinosity, evoking both reverence and fear. All very good and poetic, but how do we make sense of that for everyday life? That's where we encounter a can of worms. To be honest, these are all topics for another video, but if you've gotten this far, you've taken the first step, and that is taking your inner world more seriously. At risk of being simplistic, most commonly it means finding healthy ways of nurturing the feminine archetypes. Essentially, finding the archetypal mother inside ourselves. Be artistically expressive. Be nurturing, not just to others, but to yourself also. Learn to love nature, don't censor your personality to fit into group expectations and so on. That's all I have for today, and if you enjoyed this video, please do me a solid and leave a like and subscribe.